Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating and honestly, an overlooked business opportunity. We're talking about turning the humble, everyday broom into a super profitable export hero right from India. Let's get into it. So, let's say you're an aspiring entrepreneur. You're searching for that perfect product to export from India, right? Something with tons of demand, but, a low barrier to entry, something you can start without a massive investment. It's a tough search, for sure. But what if the answer isn't some super complex, high-tech gadget? What if it's something you probably have sitting in your home right now? Well, it turns out the solution is a surprisingly simple product that's already, sweeping the globe. That's right, we are talking about brooms. And I know, it sounds almost too simple to be a real business, but the numbers don't lie. This unlikely hero is a genuine global commodity with a ton of potential. Let's break down exactly why. So, why the big deal about Indian brooms? Well, it's kind of this perfect storm. First off, India has a really strong manufacturing base for them. This means they're known for being cost competitive, but also, and this is key, for their durable quality. And all of that has created this huge, steady demand in markets all over the Middle East, Africa, and even parts of Europe. Okay, but here's the thing. Not all brooms are the same, and neither are the markets you'd sell them to. Being successful here really means matching the right kind of broom to the right customer. So let's look at the actual options you've got. This table lays it out perfectly. You've got three main opportunities. First, the classic grass broom, the Pool Jadu. It's eco-friendly, it's low cost. That FOB price you see is basically the cost to get it onto the ship, which makes it a perfect fit for markets like the UAE, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Then there's the super durable coconut stick broom, which is great for outdoor use in the Gulf countries. And finally, you have the plastic broom. This one has higher margins and more modern designs, making it ideal for urban and retail markets. So where do you even start? This chart makes it super clear. The UAE, Nepal, and Bangladesh are fantastic entry points. Why? Because not only do they have high demand, but just as importantly, they have lower compliance complexity. That makes them way less intimidating for a first-time exporter who's just learning the ropes. All right, so you've picked your product, you've got a market in mind, now what? Well, it's time to get all your ducks in a row, legally speaking. This next part is all about the essential steps and the paperwork you'll need to become an official exporter. Now, I know this might look a little intimidating, but trust me, it really just boils down to these 5 core steps. You're going to need an Import-Export Code, or IEC. You'll need your GST registration, of course. A current bank account is a must. Then you register something called an AD code at your port. That's just a simple letter from your bank. And finally, it's highly recommended you get an RCMC, which is a registration certificate. See? It's a pretty straightforward checklist. Okay. Every single export creates a paper trail, and these documents here are the big ones. You've got the basics, like your commercial invoice and a packing list. Then you have the bill of lading, which is basically the ticket for your goods on the ship. And hey, quick tip, for natural products like grass or coconut brooms, the country you're sending them to might require a phytosanitary or fumigation certificate to prove they're pest-free, so you've got to check what your buyer needs. And here is the best part, honestly. For standard, normal brooms, the process is incredibly direct. Just as our source material says, you don't need any special, complicated licenses to get started. And that is fantastic news because it just lowers that barrier to entry we were talking about right at the start. All right, we've covered the what, the where, and the how. Now for the part I'm sure you've all been waiting for, the numbers. Let's do a real-world breakdown of the actual costs and, more importantly, the profits from a single shipment. To make this really concrete, let's walk through a specific example. Imagine you are shipping one 20-foot container. It's packed with 25,000 grass brooms, and its destination is the UAE. First up, the cost of the product itself. If you're sourcing 25,000 brooms from local makers at, say, an average of 25 rupees each, that comes out to 6,25,000 rupees. That's your main investment in your inventory. But of course, that's not the whole story. You've got to add in all the other costs, things like packaging, transportation to the port, customs handling, and the ocean freight itself. All in, your total cost to get that container ready to sell is going to be around 8,45,000 rupees. Now for the fun part. If you manage to sell each of those brooms for 38 rupees in the UAE market, your total potential revenue from that one single container is 9,50,000 rupees. And this slide just puts it all together beautifully. You take that revenue, you subtract your total costs,
and you're left with the bottom line, a gross profit of 1,05,000 rupees. That is pure profit from just one container shipment. Now, just imagine for a second that you get your operations running nice and smooth. If you can manage to ship, say, 3 or 4 of these containers every single month, you are now looking at a potential monthly profit of 3 to 4 lakh rupees. And that is where this really turns into a serious, scalable business.
Okay, the numbers look good, right? They're pretty compelling. But let's be real. Every business has its ups and downs. So in this last section, let's ask the really big question. Is this the right opportunity for you? And what does long-term growth even look like? Here's a nice, balanced look at it. The pros are super clear. It's easy to get started, brooms are a repeat purchase item, which is awesome, it's easy to scale, and there's great demand. But you have to be smart about the cons. It's a very price-sensitive market, your margins can be pretty thin if you don't build a brand, and you absolutely have to manage quality control and payment risks.
Look, this isn't just about shipping one container. It's about building something that lasts. And this slide maps out a perfect growth strategy. You start with the low-capital grass brooms to really learn the ropes. Then you can graduate to higher-margin plastic brooms. From there, you add related products like mops and wipers. And finally, you hit the ultimate goal, building your very own private label brand.
And that really brings us to the big final question you have to ask yourself. As you think about getting into this market, what's your long-term play? Are you going to be the person who's constantly fighting to offer the absolute lowest price? Or are you going to invest in quality and consistency to build a brand that importers actually seek out? The choice, ultimately, is yours.